This will undoubtedly be the toughest video I've ever had to make, but you guys deserve to hear the truth about my stroke. Stand by. Well, hello, fellow champions. It's me, Johnny, the champion within, coming to you today with a very, very, very difficult video to make. This is what we call being transparent, swallowing your pride, putting your big boy pants on, and telling the truth about what happened. Let me begin. Last Thursday, on March the 21st, at approximately 12:50 p.m. Central Time, I was driving my 18-wheeler in Kansas City on the interstate, feeling fine, listening to the radio, no problems. And all of a sudden, I developed a really, really bad cramp in my left shoulder. Came on out of nowhere, really quickly. Then it went up my shoulder, into my neck, and behind my ear, up in the back of my head. Almost immediately, I became very dizzy and I felt like I was passing out. Mind you, I was doing 65 miles an hour in the left-hand lane of an interstate, far left-hand lane. Why was I in the left-hand lane of an interstate in an 18-wheeler? Because the exit I needed to take exited off to the left. So that's why I was far left. Normally, your 18-wheeler shouldn't be in that lane, but I was there because you have to be in that lane to exit off onto 49 South. I was near Kansas City. Well, all I could think to do was look to the right and try to pull over because I was getting close to the exit. So had I not moved to the right immediately, I would have been going on this off-ramp that goes up and around and down and could have passed out and fell over the on-ramp. I don't know. So I looked, and by the grace of God, there was no cars to my right. So I was able to move over all the way over to the shoulder of the road. Still feel like I'm passing out. My field of vision is getting smaller and smaller, and I know I'm passing out. And the only thing I could think of is this is what it feels like to die, because I thought I was dying. You could not convince me at that time that I wasn't about to meet the Grim Reaper. I managed to get the truck pulled over, pop the brake, turn the flashers on, and I dialed 911 because I thought if I didn't call somebody immediately and I passed out and died, they wouldn't find my body until the next day when somebody realized this truck has been sitting there on the shoulder for 24 hours and nobody moving it. So I called 911, fire truck and ambulance responded. They got there, put me in the back of the truck, and I was in atrial fibrillation, which I have a history of. I've had 2 cardioversions where they shock your heart, try to get it back in rhythm. Neither one of them worked. I had an ablation 2.5 years ago. Now, I've been on this channel, and I've been on channels with other carnivores and other YouTubers talking about how the carnivore diet had rid me of the prevalence of AFib, because even after I had my ablation, I would have occasional runs of AFib. And AFib, atrial fibrillation, is just where your heart kind of gets out of whack. The top of your heart and the bottom of your heart don't communicate, so they're just beating out of whack. So it's called irregularly irregular. So it's no pattern to it at all. And it can be dangerous. It's normally not life-threatening. But it can cause you to have a stroke, and the stroke can be life-threatening. And it can cause you to pass out, feel lightheaded, all that stuff. Well, I was very familiar with that, so I reached down, waiting for the ambulance to get there, feel my pulse, and sure enough, it's beating really fast, and there's no rhythm to it at all. So I know that I'm back in AFib. Excuse me. So the ambulance gets there. They get up, ask me how I'm doing, and I never did pass all the way out, but I did roll the window down and get some cool air blowing on me. That helped a little bit. The shoulder pain, neck pain, and the back of my head pain went away about as quick as it came on, but I still felt very, very weak, very dizzy, and just as jittery as I could ever be. The jitters might be because I thought I was dying and I was extremely nervous. So they put me in the back of the ambulance. They take my blood pressure. It's 220 over 150. You heard that right. 220 over 150. My heart rate was about 160, give or take. It's hard to get an accurate rate when it's beating so chaotically like that. So they take me to a hospital in Kansas City, bring me into the emergency room, start an IV, give me something called diltiazem. And that got my heart kind of normalized. I'm still in AFib, but it slowed the rate down from like 150 down to 90. My blood pressure came down from 220 over 150 to like 190 over 100. And then it continued to come down I called my wife, called everybody I could call, scared to death, in a hospital in Kansas City, Missouri, exactly 1,003 miles away from my house. I know because I Googled it. Wanted to know how far away from home I was. So that's what happened. Now, they kept me overnight. They did a bunch of tests. They continued to give me blood thinner shots in my stomach. They gave me an IV with a diltiazem. My blood pressure eventually came down to 126/74, which is really good blood pressure for me, actually. And my heart rate got down. It was in the 70s to 80s, which is still a little bit fast for me, but I felt fine. And because I have no health insurance, they kicked me out, which they wanted to do a bunch of stuff. And I told them I wasn't interested in having these procedures done 1,000 miles away from my home without my wife being there. So I catch an Uber back to my truck. My company had my truck towed to a drop yard really close to where this incident happened. So I was blessed that there was a place to take my truck and trailer. I got an Uber back there, waited in the truck, felt good. Wife comes and gets me, and we come back home. And it took us a couple days to get home because we stopped at a few places. I needed to get out and walk. I didn't want to sit for extremely long periods of time with my legs bent. Having this AFib going on, even though they put me on oral blood thinners and oral diltiazem, a heart medicine, I still thought it'd be good if we got out from time to time and walk around. So we kind of took our time getting back home, and kind of made almost a vacation out of it because I didn't know if we were going to have another vacation or ever see each other alive again. I mean, from my standpoint. So that brings us, I'm home now. So I got home on Sunday. I guess we got home on Sunday. And after we got home, I literally walked a 5K. I walked up and down in front of my house from the top of the street down to the cul-de-sac, just back and forth, wanting to get some exercise and get moving. And I did 3.12 miles, which is essentially a 5K. So that's how good I feel. And then yesterday, Tuesday, I got out and cut the grass because my grass was about about that high. So I got my lawnmower out and I cut the grass. It was supposed to rain yesterday and it didn't. I digress. I cut the grass. So I'm feeling pretty good. I feel good. I am still, you can see that there. I'm still in AFib. Runs of normal sinus rhythm, a regular heartbeat, and then a couple of runs of AFib. Well, when all this happened, I was in AFib persistently. I didn't have any runs of normal sinus rhythm. Normal sinus rhythm, obviously, is what you want. So how did I get there? What caused that? Well, I guess it's up for debate. But here's where the video is going to get. Here's where the video is going to get really hard. So I'm a big supporter of this way of eating, as you guys know. And if I start crying, you're just going to have to overlook it. I'm a big boy, but big boys sometimes cry. I've been really strict carnivore from July of last year to really January of this year. But being out on the truck, and I try to put a happy face, a smile on everything. I am the eternal optimist. But the trucking situation was not working at all. I literally was making no money. In some weeks, I literally lost money. And I'm burning through my savings. So I'm also in the Midwest in January. And when I was outside of Chicago one day, it was minus 30. It was 30 below zero with the wind chill. I'm not making any money. I'm miserable. And since I've lost all this weight and gone carnivore, I cannot deal with the cold. I used to be very hot-natured, but now that I've lost so much weight, and even though I feel so much better, I can't deal with the cold. There's no fat. I don't have all this fat on my body to insulate me. And I would just get cold. Well, I would want something to drink. So I would go into the truck stop or the store, and I'd get a cup of coffee. And my habit for years and years and years was to drink coffee and eat donuts, honey buns, and apple fritters. That's how I got to where I was. I don't smoke cigarettes. I never have. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I don't chase loose women, and I don't gamble. My vice is eating terrible, terrible foods. Somehow they give me that dopamine hit, and it seems to take some of the pressure off when life gets very, very, very stressful. Then I reverted back to that. And I started eating 5, 6, 7 donuts, candy bars, honey buns, apple fritters every day. And then I'd catch myself 4 or 5 days into it. I'd say, "Come on, Johnny, you got to pull yourself together. You're going the wrong direction. Even though I was still making videos about being carnivore, basically lying to myself and to you and to my family, my wife, everybody, trying to hide this addiction, which I've been doing since I was 11 years old. I've hidden in closets and eaten food. I've crawled under my bed when I was a child and eaten a whole bag of cookies or a whole package of cookies. This is not something that just came on. I've been an addict my entire life. But my addiction is something that's legal, and it's pushed, and it's engineered to make it more addictive. And at 57 years old, I am still fighting that addiction. So I would go 5 or 6 days just completely off the rails, telling myself in my brain, you got to stop this, Johnny. You have to stop this. So I would stop, and then I would eat, a stick of butter and a fatty ribeye and maybe a couple burger patties and some bacon and eggs. And I would try to get back on track. And then I'd go in the convenience store, get me a cup of coffee. And what's by the coffee? All the pastries are right by the coffee machine. And I'd give in again. So there I was eating fatty red meat, burger patties, butter, bacon, eggs, and honey buns, apple fritters, candy bars, sausage biscuits with the biscuit, jelly, all this stuff. That's a deadly combination, folks. And I know this. I was in the medical field for 25 years. I know this is not what I should be doing. And if someone can tell me why I couldn't stop myself, I would love to know, because I don't know. I don't have an answer why I couldn't stop. All I know is I never had any problems with my blood pressure, heart rate, heartbeat, nothing, as long as I was strict carnivore. But when I went off carnivore and started lying and cheating and hiding, because see, in that 18-wheeler, there's nobody in there. And I could close the curtains and hide in there and eat whatever I wanted. I could hide it from my wife. I could hide it from my YouTube crowd. I could hide it from my fellow carnivores on Facebook. But I couldn't hide it from the reality that was what it's doing to my body. And I believe in my heart of hearts, if you'll pardon the pun, that's how I got to where I am. I just fell off the rails. I didn't have any of these issues, none of these problems, as long as I was doing strict carnivore. Even if I messed up occasionally a little bit, I didn't really have any bad effects. But when it was persistent daily for months on end, eating garbage, at the same time eating fatty red meat, butter, bacon, eggs, all that stuff. Again, I put myself in the bind I'm in now. So obviously, as you can see, I'm back home, back in my den here, and where do I go from here? What's next? How do I fix this? Now, there are going to be some people that are going to come on here and comment. I can already see it, especially the ones that are not in the carnivore space, and they're going to say, it was your cholesterol, you eating this carnivore diet, it's what messed you up. I've had family members tell me that. I've had people on social media reach out to me privately and say the carnivore diet caused this. Your cholesterol is so high, you're going to die. See, you're killing yourself. And I'm not saying that these people are saying that to be mean. A lot of them are saying it because they love me and they want to see what's best for me. But let me show you this right here. This is my lab work I had done while I was in the hospital. And you can plainly see by the results of this lab work that it is not a cholesterol problem. I believe it's an inflammation problem. So where do I go from here? Well, I'm back home, and I'm now medically disqualified from driving a tractor trailer. And to be completely honest with you, I'm okay with that. I didn't enjoy it. It was not fun. I realize that now that I've gotten in shape and have all this energy, being strapped to the driver's seat with a seatbelt for 9 to 11 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, was just not fun. Before I found this way of eating, I was eating with arthritis. As you guys know, I had plantar fasciitis so bad I couldn't stand it. So sitting down in a seat to make my living made sense, right? I really couldn't do anything else. But now that I have all this energy, I have no back pain, no knee pain, no hip pain, no plantar fasciitis pain, which was terrible, by the way. I have tons of energy. I didn't think about when I went back into trucking how being strapped to that seat for 9 to 11 hours a day every day was going to feel like a prison. Now, God bless those drivers that continue to drive and move this economy forward, because truck drivers truly are the backbone of every part of our economy. If you don't believe me, walk through your house and pick up every item you can find that's in your house, in your job, or in your life that at some point in time wasn't on a truck, but you can't find any. But I digress. So I'm going to continue to eat carnivore. And since the moment that incident took place last Thursday to now, I've been rock solid perfect. I've been fasting. I would like to do more fasting, but one of the medicines I take says it needs to be taken with food. The Xarelto, it needs to be taken with food. So I can't fast. I'm doing OMAD basically. I can't really fast for multiple days, but I've been fasting between 16 and 20 hours, 16 and 22 hours, and I feel good. I mean, I feel amazing. I can't believe how much energy I have in AFib. When I had AFib before, this was not the case. My hope is that this will convert back to a normal sinus rhythm once I get all the inflammatory substances worked out of my body. And I'm working diligently to do that. One of the treatments, when you look up treatments for AFib, what can a patient do outside of medical intervention is obviously good rest, sleep, control your diet. Of course, they say fruits and vegetables, but you and I know better. And the other thing is 40 minutes of vigorous exercise, 5-6 times a week. I have no problem with that. It looks like, fingers crossed, prayers up, I'm going back to work at Lowe's, which is where I worked before I left to go back in the truck. If Lowe's will have me back, I'm going back. And when I worked at Lowe's then, and if I do there again now, I get about 10,000 steps a day in there. It's a very physically active job. And that's what I missed most when I was on the truck, is just being able to move, climb ladders, go up and down the aisles, and just move my body all day, every day, and getting all those steps in. So that's where we're at. I'm going back to work, hopefully, in where I worked at before. I'm going to continue to do carnivore. I'm going to update. I'm going to start putting out videos on a regular basis. My plan right now is to put out videos every Monday and Thursday. I'm going to show you my progress. We're going to talk about my heart. Is it getting better? Am I making progress there? Do I get to see a doctor here? Remember, I was self-employed on the truck, so I don't have any insurance, because insurance when you're self-employed is like $1,500 a month, and I don't have that kind of money. I will have insurance if I go back to work for my previous employer. I will get insurance, and then I'll be able to really address this from a more medical standpoint if I can't resolve it on my own by making much better choices and staying out from under the stress, because I was under a mountain of stress trying to make that truck driving thing work, and it looked like it was never really going to work out for me. Diesel fuel is so high. I was putting up, you guys may have seen some of my posts on Facebook, spending between $500 and $600 every other day in fuel and diesel exhaust fluid or DEF. That's unsustainable. You just can't, big, huge companies can do that, but the little guy doesn't have a chance, especially when the rates are paying as low as they're paying, as well as the tolls. My gosh, in the Midwest where I like to run between Chicago and Milwaukee, or up around the northern Indiana, those tolls are out of control. $88 to drive on I-80? Really? $54 to go from Chicago to Milwaukee on I-294, and then $54 to come back, and that's with a discount. So you go from Chicago to Milwaukee and come back, you spend $108 in tolls and a couple $100 in fuel, and the load only paid $600. It ain't worth it. Wasn't worth it for me. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I just want you guys to know that I'm well. I feel better. I feel good. I'm still exercising. I've backed off on the push-ups some. One other point I want to make about when I was eating so crappy. I thought that I could work out so hard that I could minimize the results of that crappy diet. So instead of just stop eating the crap, I would eat the crap and then work out as hard as I possibly could. And the plantar fasciitis didn't come back. The arthritis pain didn't come back, except for my lower back. I had lower back pain. But my blood pressure started going back up. And, of course, I went back into AFib. And even though I was working out like crazy, doing, push-ups and jump rope and squats and lunges and everything you guys have seen me do, sprints, jogging, 5Ks, it wasn't enough to outrun the horrible effects of ultra-processed food on the human body. Anyway, guys, that's the update. That is the hard, cold truth. It was not the diet that caused this problem. It was my lack of strength or willpower or whatever reserve to stick to the diet. So going forward, I can tell you, I never, ever, ever want to feel that feeling again of dying. I mean, I know we're all going to die someday. I just don't want it to be today. So you talk about the show Scared Straight. That scared me straight, because anytime I think about straying from this diet, this proper human diet, I'll remember exactly how I felt as I was pulling that truck over, praying for Jesus to let me into heaven. Please, God. I knew I was dying. I just wanted to make sure I could get into heaven so I could see my mom and see my wife, one day way, way in the future, when she comes to heaven. That's all I could think about was, please let me into heaven, because I was dying. That's all I got, guys. I love you. If you watched this video all the way through, thank you. Know that I'm doing well. Going to start putting out videos hopefully every Monday and every Thursday. We're going to track the progress of my heart rate, my heartbeat, my overall physical health. I'm going to start putting my weight up there. And today, as you can see right here, I weigh 234.6 or 234.4. And my lowest weight in this whole episode was 227. So I'm only 7 pounds heavier than my lowest weight. My goal is to get down in the Wonderland, but the sub 200. So still got a ways to go, but now I'm back home. The stress of that trucking job is no longer there. And I feel like I got a good chance to make a full recovery and get my weight where I want it. You guys have a great day. I love you. And remember, Carnivore, baby. Yeah.